people got so pissed when Bret Hart said this, but he's made a quote that professional wrestlers, modern professional wrestlers, are actors pretending to be wrestlers. And I got 3 things to say about that. Hey guys, welcome back to episode 2 of the Wrestling Is Now Shitty podcast. I am your co-host, Dr. Legend, joined all with my esteemed colleague, Midnight.
You're listening to the best new podcast on the internet. Tell me when I'm telling lies.
I can definitely say that this is the best wrestling podcast with the word shitty in the title. I can safely say that. So yeah, how's your week been going? Midnight, you catch a lot of wrestling this week?
I actually caught Raw. I missed SmackDown tonight, but I actually did watch a little AEW Dynamite because I have HBO Max and watched the rerun, and wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So, but definitely been up to speed with my WWE stuff, though.
Oh, that's very sweet of you. That probably brings our viewership up to a baker's dozen now. I'm already pissing off the AEW marks, but who cares? All right, that's not what we're talking about. So I didn't catch any of the shows. I catched the highlights on social media. What I did watch though was the TMZ Hulk Hogan quote unquote special that aired on Fox, and I call it a special. It was very hastily kind of put together. They mentioned talking to a bunch of people. They realistically talked to 5. It was Jimmy Hart, Vince, Goldberg for some reason, Mark Henry, and Mick Foley, and they all kind of shared their insights on him, and you know, the loving part of his career, and then the controversies and everything like that. To me, I was for what they advertised, I was expecting a lot more. But it's pretty generic. It's not stuff you haven't heard, and if you've heard the snippets and stuff pulled off on social, like from what Mark Henry said and from Jimmy Hart and Vince McMahon, you've basically got the gist of the special. Is it worth watching from a wrestling fan? No. Is it worth watching as a Hulk Hogan fan? Yeah, because they do say some sweet stuff. I think the Mick Foley story was the most touching thing I remember watching, because Hulk's apology to him was his last interaction, like personal interaction with Hulk Hogan, and he did it on camera where he publicly apologized for calling him fat and lazy, eating cheeseburgers, whatever. He said that was the stupidest thing I even said. The worst part about it wasn't true. So they got it on camera. They showed it.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Mick was very like sullen about it, and he was giving the Hulk some good praises during it, but that was sweet. Other than that, I probably say skip it. You've already seen the highlights on. Speaking of some highlights, I know you didn't catch SmackDown, but let's turn the Boomertron on and let's get right down to it. All right, so we are up and running, and the first thing catches your eye. We are watching SmackDown. What the hell is this? Oh,
they've literally turned the canvas into the fucking yellow pages.
I can't believe this. Like, I know Vince was not big on this. I remember back in the WCW days, you would see the highlight sponsor, like Snickers was a big one that used to be on their canvases and things like that. But that was it. And you'd be like, okay, fine. You know, they're a big corporation to do that. But to see WWE go this route and fucking King of the Hill, of all things...
Well, the reason is because they're going to ESPN, and Hulu is a Disney property that owns ESPN and Hulu, so they're just money's worth.
Not to say, I mean, the new season of King of the Hill is great. I think everyone should watch it, especially if you love the original stuff. But like, it is so not WWE. Like, back in the Attitude Era, you'd see shit for teenagers like Stridex pads and fat burners and things like that advertised, like those commercials with WWE stars. King of the Hill is such a boomer show. It's like our age level, like super, like this is nothing new fans would
super
care
millennial
about. Yeah
super Gen X millennial. But honestly though, like the This is just a sign of the times because I don't know if you've watched baseball recently. They put digital advertisements on the pitching mound, on the back part of the pitching mound
I
now in baseball.
I have seen that. This is some dystopian shit we're gonna get into. I remember I was hyped for like AR glasses, like Google Lens. Like I can't wait for that to come out. That's just another avenue for them to just shoot advertisements in you when you're walking down the street. WWE, please change, please change. Okay, so our first big story we're gonna talk about today. Naomi had a match with was it Io Sky this week on Raw, which was canceled because WWE said she was not medically cleared to wrestle. Now, is this truth in advertising, or are they trying to pull another Seth Rollins on us?
My theory is that if there was an injury, an actual injury, they would have made it a work, kind of like how they did Jade Cargill or Steve Austin or anybody, right? But this is very sudden, which tells me she's honestly probably pregnant or a pregnancy scare. That's why they've been so hush hush about it. Because if she failed a drug test, like the wellness policy, they would have came out and said it. If she got legitimately hurt, they would have worked it. So the only explanation is that she has a legit some type of medical condition, which most likely is she could be pregnant.
That's the prevailing rumor I've seen online. She was on Stephanie McMahon's podcast this week, and everyone was hoping she was going to mention something about that, but all she said was like, look, I wasn't medically cleared. And allegedly her and her husband had been trying for a child for a while, and so if that were the case, but like for them to come out and say it this way and to do it like so suddenly without trying to make it a work into it, I feel like if Vince was at the helm, first thing he'd be doing like, oh, if you can't clear, come to the locker room, let's film this clip of you getting hit with a chair in the gut really fast, and then
Yeah, exactly.
we'll go 9 months later and yada yada yada. We'll make it an angle when you come back. But this is a different company, a different organization, so they probably got the news. Maybe she drew the line, said, look, this is what happened. If your theory and the prevailing rumors, she's pregnant, I got a positive pregnancy test, I'm not going in that ring, especially because I apparently, from what I've heard, they've been trying for a while. So yeah, she'd want this kid. Last thing you want to do is take fucking bumps in the middle of the ring, and
Or even a risky bump in the back where you're just filming an injury angle. Like it's just not worth it.
absolutely. So whatever happens, wishing her the best. Love to see her come back. You know, she's entertaining to watch. I don't have any major issues with her, but whatever.
That I gotta say, and if they do end up having a kid in about 23, 24 years, that is going to be one hell of a WWE talent. I'm already waiting for the next generations.
You know, I have to admit, they're really hit and miss on second and third generational stars. For every Randy Orton we get a Curtis Axel. So I waiting with bated breath. We'll see what happens.
Or Ted DiBiase Jr.
Oof. Yes, cutting deep. Okay, well, speaking of Io Sky, I couldn't believe this when I heard it. Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio has come out and boldly declared that Io Sky is the best wrestler in the company right now, week in and week out. Holy crap, what a thing
Okay,
to say.
before you respond, I just want to do this. Go ahead. You start us off, Doc.
Here's my take on this, okay? Who the fuck does this guy think he is? Who made this jackass the arbiter of what is good and bad in professional wrestling? He is one motherfucker in a sea of so many individuals who watch, review, and talk and chat about wrestling. Yet he is the one that people put on this pedestal as if everything he has to say is gospel truth. And I also blame the IWC for this because no one comes out and challenges him or tries to compete with him and say, look, fuck your star ratings, Dave. I got my star ratings. I'm going to give star ratings to match. Could you imagine going through life and watching movies, and there's only one movie critic in the entire world, and whatever he says is fucking, that's the case. Oh, if this is a good movie because he says it is. And the people who care about Dave Meltzer only care about him when they say something they agree with, and when they say something they don't agree with, well, fuck Dave Meltzer. Who does he think he is? I'm on the camp, and yeah, fuck Dave Meltzer. I don't give a shit what he says. I don't care. Like, one of my favorite matches of all time was Rock Hogan WrestleMania 18, and he was like, he gave it 3 stars. I'm like, how could you watch that match and say it's like not one of the greatest WrestleMania matches / moments of all time? And I think he was on another podcast talking about it. He goes, yeah, maybe I rated it a little low. It's probably a 4-star match. So even he knows he's full of shit. So
Well, like I said, the 2 biggest marks in the history of professional wrestling are Dave Meltzer and Vince McMahon. And one of them knows how to run a wrestling company and book a wrestling match, and the other one is Dave Meltzer.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't care. I hate that people still talk about this guy. He would go away so much easier if you just shut up and didn't listen to him and just went about your day. I don't care about Dave. I just see this stuff pop up and like people go crazy about it. And for him to say something this bold, like even talking about what he said right here, I don't even think she's the best women's wrestler WWE has right now, let alone the best wrestler in the company. So that's one humble man's opinion. So right now she's batting 500 according to Wrestling Opinions.
Well, the thing about it is, let's be real here. What is he determining is the best wrestler, right? Like, in professional wrestling, who is the best wrestler, right? Like, you just talked about Hogan versus Rock WrestleMania 18. That was the best match on the card. You want to know why? It drew the most people into the building, and it got the best fan response out of all the matches that they got in there. It was the match that the fans were most emotionally invested in, and it probably sold a lot of merchandise as well. Somebody please tell me how EU Sky is moving the needle, as they say in UFC terms. The best wrestler in the company right now is CM Punk, and maybe Cody Rhodes is probably 1B behind him. It's not, Io Sky might be able to perform well in the ring, and maybe she's telling some decent stories, but she's not the best. She's not even. I would say she's like top 5 in the women's, because see, Naomi is getting a more emotional response in the ring than she is.
It's really tough to watch her work. And another thing, I'm not a big fan. I like Rhea Ripley's character. I know this will get some heat, but she's one of the biggest female wrestlers in the company. She has no business selling like Dolph Ziggler to women half her size doing moves on her. It drives me nuts to see her take a DDT and roll over like she's dying. Like, no, China wouldn't do that shit. Selling. No,
exactly.
Io Sky, I remember watching the WrestleMania match, which Meltzer gave 5 stars to, by the way. Their triple threat match.
It wasn't a bad match.
It wasn't bad, but they kept selling like every move like death. And when you sell a move like that, and then you turn around 10 seconds later and do another move, what was the freaking point? Why did you take that move and make it look like you had freaking gotten decapitated and then bounce right back up? It baffles me.
It's like the CM Punk Drew McIntyre Hell in the Cell match. They slow fucked the shit out of it. Like, when he threw Drew McIntyre into the cage, McIntyre's back went into the cage and he sold it, and CM Punk waited, and Drew McIntyre waited to get back into the action. They didn't sell it, and then 2 seconds later, get back. They took their time, and that's why they're better storytellers.
Yeah, I don't know who's telling the wrestlers to sell like that and that's working or whatever, but they should just stop. Like, it drives me up the wall.
You can sell, you have to pace it properly.
It reminds me of old ECW shit where they would do moves to each other. Like, someone would take a chair shot to the head and they would fall, or they would do a move onto a chair, like a power bomb or something, a sit down power bomb, and the guy who got power bomb would get up before the guy giving the power bomb. Like, you just took a big ass move. Okay, sell
No,
it a
it's
little bit, but there's a whole other end of the spectrum here where they're selling too much and bouncing right back up. Like, it's crazy. I don't think Io's a bad wrestler, like you were saying, at all. Is she the best in the company right now? Absolutely not. That's no way. I wouldn't. Yeah, but maybe that's just what Dave likes.
Dave Meltzer loves. Yeah, he loves Japanese style wrestlers. He loves them, and he's going to put them over. It's just the way. It's just what he is.
Hmm. Well, he asked the question, who's better than her? Yeah, a lot of people. He said, I think Cody's better storyteller, CM Punk. Um, as far as women go, I think Asuka works better than she
Io
does.
Sky cannot talk you into the. Asuka does work better than Io Sky, but Io Sky cannot talk you into the building.
She can't talk in general, and it sucks. And I know it's a language barrier or whatever, but like, you got to work around that. Like, there are guys who didn't
That's
say
part
a
of
whole
it.
lot. Tell me one, and I hate to bring this name up, but because it's, you know, in the ethos of it, because of who he was and his career, yada yada. Benoit, you name a memorable Chris Benoit promo, but you remember all his matches because he's tough as shit.
Well, he also he did his matches in a way that made you remember them. But you also have to look at guys who worked around that language barrier. Like, look at Nakamura. He worked around the language barrier. Penta's working around the language barrier. Um, so it's possible she's just get if she really wants to connect with the fans, she's got to learn. She's got to learn English, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I think big swing and a miss from Dave here. But who expected anything less? Like, at this point, I think he's a shot guy.
He's made a fool. He's not as influential as you think he is anymore. He used to be even more influential, but now he's exposed himself on social media. So we're not the only ones pointing out his idiocy.
Before we move on, just real quick fire. Do you think he owns a piece of AEW?
I think he does. If I were a betting man, I think he does.
I would say so too. All right, well, moving on. The hot story from this week: Karrion Kross. Has it been official, his release from WWE, or his contract certainly wasn't renewed? But how much do you know about this story?
I know I saw clips of his interview with Ariel Helwani, and he was released from his contract. Well, he wasn't released from his contract. It wasn't renewed, and they gave him an ultimatum to contract, and he didn't want to do it, which tells me that the WWE just wasn't interested in keeping him around. Which I kind of don't blame them. I don't see the fan connection. I didn't see much of a future with him. What are your thoughts on Karrion?
Let me tell you why the IWC is full of shit. Okay, it's this right here. They, for weeks up until when they knew his contract were ending, they were getting hashtag We Want Cross trending. They were trying to put this over, and they said in the next Raw, you scream that and you shout it, and you make sure the whole world knows that we want Cross, we want Cross. In fact, one of the people alleged, apparently report, even Meltzer said it, that they were taking We Want Cross signs out of Raw, but it was determined that was bullshit because halfway through the show they found this. But you know what they didn't take from the show? A single We Want Cross chant, because they weren't fucking there. No one said god dang shit about We Want Cross, and it's evident about how popular and how over this guy actually was, and how the IWC doesn't know shit. I know it hurts when you like a guy and he's popular in your mind and he's your boy and you want to see them succeed. Cross is probably a wonderful individual backstage. I remember I saw his post WrestleMania promo afterwards, and I was like, "Oh, this guy's got an edge to him. Okay, let's see where he takes it. Let's see what he does with it." Jack fucking shit. Nothing. Not a goddamn thing. He just coasted and did exactly what he did. Now, I don't know if that's a part of the WWE's plan with him. Allegedly, they were telling him that they were upset about the promo because they didn't know if it was a work or a shoot, and they were like, we don't know what to do with you, and they just said, you know what, we're going to cut our losses, F this guy, and let's just move on. I will say though, here's the I think
well, I think
here's the interview segment I think you talked about where he said this. I do think is kind of messed up. Let's just play
Truth
this
of the
clip.
matter is, I mean, you've already stated, like, you know, my contract was up last week. I never actually received a contract, like an offer, until last week. So,
Do you remember what day? So your contract expired August 10th, which I do believe was Sunday.
yeah, I think it was Tuesday off the top of my head.
Okay.
You know, I got the offer. I wanted to know how they came to the valuation of that offer. Just wanted, you know, like some information, some metrics, some analytics that's supporting to, hey, this is how we got here. When I inquired about that, they were unwilling to provide that information and told me I had 24 hours to agree to the offer or they were rescinding it. So, you know, the next day we talk. I ask if they have the information. They don't. And I said, I can't make an informed decision without the information.
If that doesn't tell you we want you to go the fuck away, what else is? And I think it's fucked up on the WWE's part, but like this totally reminds me of the Bischoff Luger situation where Bischoff didn't want to hire Luger in WCW, but Sting was begging him and he's like, all right, I'll give him 20% of what he's making in WWE. And if he doesn't take the deal, I can tell, it's like, oh, I tried Sting, he didn't want to make the deal or whatever. And he took the deal. He's like, fuck, I gotta work with Luger now. Another thing was apparently they didn't offer, the contract was just for him. They didn't want to contract his wife, Scarlett, and he was adamant about wanting to work with her and keep her around. And I get it if that's your case and that's something you're fighting for. I don't hate Cross in this situation at all. I don't think Cross has done anything wrong per se. I think this is another case of the IWC biting off more they can chew and thinking that their shit don't stink when they want their wrestlers to get over and then blaming WWE for it. It was proven, and I know Triple H is this is what his metric for it. It's in the audience, in the attendance, the people, like just like video games, you're whales. You want to cater to the people who spend the most money. Those are the people who are in the arenas, the ones who are buying your merch, the ones who are standing and shouting and chanting, who go to your events more often than not. And that's who Triple H is trying to carry through, not to the internet and not to the people who, you know, fair weather fans who watch once in a while. And that's us included. If I have my boys, there are people I want to see over, but I am not egotistical enough to believe that WWE should do something because I want my guy to get over, because I think they're better or not. It's about marketing. It's about business. They always talk about the wrestling business. This is a business. And so when you're working on a business, you got to go with what makes money, not with what's favorable. They've been doing that in the mid 2000s plus, and that's why you've seen fucking shit champions like Dolph Ziggler and Alberto Del Rio, fucking flashes in the pan, people who would never should have won a world title but did because they acquiesced to fan reaction and overwhelming like support instead of going with the actual business and your gut, because this never would have happened in the Hulkamania era, the New Generation, or the Attitude Era. When you were a champion, it fucking meant something when you won a title. That's why I feel bad for CM Punk when he won 2 world titles after 2 back-to-back Money in the Bank, because they didn't have a plan for it. They were just like, oh, we'll just use Money in the Bank and hopefully this will springboard him because he's a world champion now. And it doesn't work that way. CM Punk got more over when he wasn't even in the title picture than he ever was as champion. And then that's what gave him the proper support to become a champion and to carry the business on his back. And with Karrion Kross here, if you guys want Kross to be so over, guess what? You half dozen fans that love this guy so much, congratulations. You're the ones that are going to be most disappointed because he's gone. Because guess what? No one else felt the same way you did. And I'm sorry you feel that way, but it's the truth. Okay. Well, any last thoughts on
take
Kross?
100 people #over.
What?
Yeah, it only takes a few hundred people. It only takes a few hundred people to get a hashtag over, and the whole hashtag "we want cross." I mean, you can get that over on the internet, but it's not going to translate in the metrics that the WWE knows. WWE knows who's generating the revenue, right? They know who their whales are, right? And Karrion Cross isn't one of them. And this is just another, I guess, example of guys who pirate WWE thinking they know best when, as it turns out, the I mean, Quebec City is a hardcore wrestling territory. If there's a smartier, markier crowd, it's Quebec City. And if they really wanted Karrion Cross, they would have said something, and they didn't, and they're likely not to. And you can tell by the con had up with number, you can tell them how much you think you're worth based off of what you know you've generated. He gets his merchandise statements. He should be getting the numbers of what his quarterly ratings are, viewership is, whether he's on SmackDown or Raw or whatever. He should know that.
Yeah, you can't go
And
to you can't
it's
go
not
to.
Hall Snick Vince Man, and he
No, I'm sorry. I was saying you can't go to like
go ahead.
Triple H with like, look how many impressions I got on Instagram today, and I'm like, okay, well, how many of those guys bought your shirt? Well, I don't know, but they're talking about me. Who cares?
Great. Great. They're talking about you. Great. But who's going to buy a ticket, drive to the arena, sit in a seat they don't want to sit in, eat food they don't want to eat, and sit next to people they don't want to sit next to, and buy your shirt and cheer for you and show real raw emotion in an arena when you wrestle? Mm, Not that many.
Yep, and it was proven. But tell you what, Cross, wish you the best in your future endeavors. And I mean that.
Yeah,
I'm not being
see you on
jaded.
AEW.
Oof, yeah.
We'll see him on the Collision prelims.
Okay, well, speaking of internet darlings, I had to bring this up. So this social media post was trending quite a bit. I don't know if you saw this, but this is a clip of Mr. Sami Zayn on Raw this week, and the reaction he got.
Well, he's also in Canada, so
Yeah, exactly. I heard his promo on SmackDown, and
he's very popular.
he couldn't be more Canadian. Like, and he has the voice of such a sweetheart. Like, this guy is nothing but a white meat babyface. But the caption here is, imagine thinking this man is not world champion material. And I hate to say this again and bring it up. I know I use the Ziggler effect too much, but you're gonna do it to him. Okay, first of all, Sami Zayn doesn't have the look. I'm sorry, he's not. When you look at him, if I put a picture of him up, like his pose or whatever, and said, "Guys, this is a wrestler," and we're like, "Yeah, true or false? Is this a world champion or not?" Not that he's won it, but does he look like one? I bet you more often than not, people would say no. I like this guy. I saw pictures of him with his beard, like a lightly trimmed beard, like a very thin beard, and he looked way better than this homeless gimmick he's got now with the sweatshirt and everything like that. I don't know what people are thinking when they're pushing this guy, but for me, I know it's like this. He's got this ultimate underdog story. You can't do that. You could do that for maybe 6 months, 8 months until you start winning matches and everything. Okay, how long can you be a fucking underdog and get pushed like this?
Well, I think when it comes to the whole champion versus chaser thing, I look at a guy like Bret Hart who they could just put the belt on him, and then you get a heel factory and you start running the heels through him. And I think Sammy can fulfill that role. I do think his look is a problem. I think he needs a more tougher look. I think he should probably cut his hair shorter, maybe do like some type of stylish faux hawk with a more trimmed, sharper beard, kind of like a Roman Reigns or a Jey Uso beard, not this homeless guy beard thing he's got going on. I didn't like when Brian Danielson did it. Um, I think he should cut it shorter and get a better look. But you have to understand is that he's in WrestleMania 39. He stole the show in night one with Kevin Owens and the Usos. The guy's a star, but the problem is that they're putting him. They've got kind of a crowded main event title picture ever since CM Punk came back, and now you've got Punk and Lesnar and Rhodes and Rollins and Roman and now you had guys like Ron Burt, and they're getting a little crowded, and they may have missed their opportunity with Sami Zayn to kind of strike when the iron was hot. And I feel like he could be the champion who, even though this is fun, I think that if they built up enough heels, he could have a Bret Hart 1995-ish run where they were just running heels through him every single month, and he was putting on, and he'll put on great matches for you, and he's pretty damn funny too. He's actually really entertaining.
Yeah, but don't you think it'll get more of that Rey Mysterio effect when Rey Mysterio is considered the biggest underdog champion? That's not something you want to label in your champion is the best of the best, the top dog, not an underdog. He is the best. So anyone that faces him is considered lower on the card. They should never be in a situation where when they're facing someone else, for that person to be perceived as the better athlete, the better star, the better wrestler, because they're not the champion. If Sammy's a champion, he's got to be perceived as the best, and to beat this guy, you got to be perceived as the best. And I don't think that's Sammy. I don't think he fits the bill.
They can get him over though. Bret Hart was not that way, and then they gave him the sharpshooter, and Pat Patterson said, "We'll get this hold over," and they did. It was one move that turned Bret Hart from an underdog technical wrestler into the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. Sami Zayn has the haluva kick. If they change the haluva kick to like a knockout type maneuver where every time he hits it, it's over, you can build him up as this guy who can beat you, and they just have to book him properly.
But fan reaction and merch sales a champion does not make. Rey Mysterio was the #2 merch seller in the mid 2000s, the second highest one. He was a lower mid card wrestler at best. And then they put the title on him, and what happened? Everybody fucking turned on Rey Mysterio, because once you have that belt on you, it's a perception of excellence and greatness. And like we talked about earlier, champion versus chaser. There are some wrestlers who are more popular because they're chasing the belt, and there are some wrestlers who are popular because they are the champion. Okay, now look at some champions. Hulk Hogan, Bret Hart, fantastic champions. All of their reigns are defined by their defenses. Chasers are the people you want to see go after the belt, and their reigns are defined by them winning the title. And that's a great reign for them. But afterwards, they didn't do jack shit. And it's unfortunate. In the AWA, Hogan was perceived as a better chaser by Vern Gagne. Vince said, no, this guy is a champion, and I'm going to turn him into a money-making machine. And that was something someone else got wrong.
But what did Vince do that Vern didn't? Vern built up Hogan as this kind of unstable guy who couldn't even go off of his feet. So they would find ways to screw him out of the title. Whereas Vince said, we're going to change your psychology in the ring to make your comeback, make your Hulk up against the bigger, badder guy, you know, facing King Kong Bundy and Andre the Giant and you know, Ultimate Warrior and things of that nature. So they booked him differently. And that's if they book Sami Zayn differently as he builds up. Because remember, Bret Hart at SummerSlam 91, when he beat Perfect with the sharpshooter, it changed the perception of Bret the Hitman Hart to this guy who's like, whoa, he's going to make you tap the fuck out. And then, of course, a year or so later, he's the champion.
But Bret has always had this perception of him being a solid worker, a solid performer, and a solid athlete. Look at Bret Hart. If on fucking paper, this motherfucker wears pink to the ring and is one of the most bad. No one ever said, who the fuck is this guy? He's wearing pink. How's he going to kick my ass? They see him, they said, this guy's wearing pink. It's Bret fucking Hart. I got to watch the fuck out. And that's because Bret Hart had, in the ring, unfathomable work ethic, charisma, and storytelling ability. Sami Zayn, when you look at him, it's his biggest Achilles heel right now. It's his look. It's that perception when you look at him. AJ Styles, God bless this guy, phenomenal athlete, great worker in the ring, had a horrific bare bones body until this year. He got jacked. And I feel bad for him because he's on the world's worst losing streak right now. I think he's lost on every major of PLE they've had this year. But he looks phenomenal. Like, he looks the part of he's going to destroy you. Like, if the belt was on him right now, I'd be like, okay, who could beat this guy? That's what I'm saying. With Zayn, I think the story and the drama and the reason people love him is because he's the chaser and because they're wanting him to win the belt. But upon him winning it, I think they're going to turn on him just the same way they started to turn on Cody. There's only been one guy in the history of this business who's been both a great chaser and a great champion, and that is Stone Cold Steve Austin. Every single WrestleMania he main evented, he was chasing. But he has memorable title defenses as a champion. So he was the only guy to do it both ways. And that's a testament to how popular and the greatness of the Stone Cold Steve Austin character. I don't think Sammy's there yet. He might be a big sweetheart. I don't know. But I hate to see guys who get overhyped like this. Like, I love watching Rey Mysterio work matches. Rey Mysterio is a phenomenal worker in the ring. If I see a Rey Mysterio on the card, I know it's going to be a great match no matter who he's in there with. But when he was the champion, I groaned. I said, look what they're... And they booked him horribly. It was terrible decision-making one after another because he didn't have that championship look. They just wanted him to win the title. He was running off the Eddie Guerrero passing heat that they were trying to capitalize on, and it ultimately failed him. And if the same thing could happen to Sami Zayn, I don't think he's there yet, and I honestly, unless something changes in him, I don't think he'll ever be there.
Yeah, I think that if they booked him differently, I think that things could change. I just don't see him. I don't see them changing their booking, and I don't see it working. But I guess we'll have to agree to disagree on that one.
If I were a betting man, I'd probably bet they said they will give him the title. I think if they give it to him too soon, it'll backfire. And I'm hoping they don't try to do it at next year's Rumble/Mania, because if there's anybody due for this shit, it's CM Punk. I think they want to see him do it. I honestly
think so too.
If they pass over Punk for Zayn, you're gonna have yourself another freaking WrestleMania 30 situation. Batista and Orton, they're not gonna give a shit. They'll turn on Sammy so fucking fast because Batista used to be over like shit, and as soon as he took quote unquote Bryan Daniels' spot, boom, the media darlings on him turned like, F this guy. How dare you take the spot of the guy we want to see? So, best of luck to Sammy. I hope there's something different in the future for him, and I hope he changes his look a little bit. So speaking of changing and looks or whatever, did you see this "Woe is me" Bayley promo they aired on Raw?
I didn't. You'll have to film me in.
I've never seen such a captivating "Woe is me" promo delivered before, but if it wasn't for that music they aired, if you just take the script out contextually of what she was saying, it was all just boring bullshit. Like, oh my god, this I haven't won a match. Who talk? How are you gonna get yourself over if you talk derogatory
How is it
about
her
yourself?
fault?
What do you mean?
Why does she? How is it her fault in her mind? Like, what did she do?
Well, in kayfabe, she's just not good enough. Like, she's not competing at a level. She's not able to beat the other wrestlers and yada, yada, yada. But, beyond that, if this was like a quote unquote half work, half shoot, like she's like, look, I don't feel good. I'm not doing well or whatever. Like, nobody likes a loser crybaby unless this is turning into like a heel turn. Like, this just reeks of pathetic. Like, did you see this too? She cut this about a year ago about what she said about not being on the posters on any premium live events.
I am very invested in this feud that you're having right now. You against WWE graphic designer team. Why would they never put you in a poster?
I don't know, man. I don't know what it is. I've tried my best. I've worn better outfits. I've begged on my knees. I've cried. I'm just kidding. I don't know what it is, but it's fine. Whatever. I'm over it.
A lot of
Well, I have a theory on this,
Oh.
okay, and I hate to say this. I'm not like a big Bayley fan. I don't hate her or anything like that. But when I see her, and this is the inherent problem. Like we're talking about Sammy about looks. All right, I'm gonna break it down to all you Bayley fans out there. You're gonna take a lot of heat for this. Bayley looks like a mom, okay, and not just like, oh, she's not. I didn't say a MILF. Okay, she looks like a mom. Like, hey, I'm gonna go knock on my friend's house next door to see if he can come outside and play. She answers the door. She doesn't have that look like some of the other divas and WWE superstars she works with, who are extremely attractive, kind of the creme de la creme. She just looks normal and boring and mom-like. And I don't know what else. Like, if you look at some of the go back to that promo. Where's the that footage of her? There's a shot of her that when I saw it, I was like,
She does look like she looks
look
like
at this.
she looks like her friend's mom.
Look at that face and tell me you don't knock on the door. She got a cigarette
she
hanging
does.
out of her mouth and saying like, no, Chris isn't here. Okay, go away. Like, do you want to see that face on your WWE poster? Are you going to buy a ticket to a match with her face on it? I think the marketing team is right on this one.
Well, no, exactly, but no, asking her to be like a drop dead gorgeous model. Like Rhea Ripley understood that and said, I need to change my look so I'm different. And I think Bayley needs a new look. She doesn't have to be drop dead gorgeous, but she's trying to look like the drop dead gorgeous people. And it's not fitting because it's not her style, right? Like, remember what Eric Bischoff said? He says, I can't beat WWE at what they do, so I'm going to do something different. That's what she needs to do.
Absolutely, 100% agree with you on that one. Like Rhea Ripley, if you like her in NXT to Rhea Ripley we know now, they almost look like two different people. She cakes on the makeup, fatty eyeliner on her, but it works, and she got herself over. Something about Bayley's look just looks like haggard. I've been working a middle-class job for too long. I punched out 3 or 4 kids, and nobody wants to see that as your champion. That's not her character. But that's the first thing I see when I look at her. She's somebody's mom in the ring, and that's not enticing to me in an athlete or a professional wrestler. And I don't want to pay money to see that. And for her, like I remember watching her stories and the promos and things like that. They could have been some of the best stuff ever. But if you plucked her out and put someone else in it and they did the same story, probably would have been a whole lot better. And it's just due to her current look, and it's unfortunate. You're right, she should do something to change it. She needs to do something to stand out, differentiate herself, but she flat out looks, just her looks currently is what's keeping her off those PLE posters and why people aren't going to see her face on the marquee when they're going to a live event.
Yeah, it's just too much competition, right? Like you have to start separating yourself from the pack. Because even Rhea said, I tried to look like everybody else, blonde hair, tight sports bra. She's like, fuck it, I'm gonna wear fishnets. I'm gonna wear black lipstick. I'm gonna look like a heavy metal rock star, and it got fucking over really fucking quick.
Yeah, she's honestly. They said they're trying to. I remember reading that they're trying to build her, Cody Rhodes, and Seth Rollins as the top stars of the WWE, and I'm like, what are you talking about? She is one of the top stars right now. I think she is the biggest name and face of the WWE women's division. Like, I think people pay money to see Rhea wrestle.
If not
and
the
Rhea work.
WWE.
Yeah, absolutely.
I look forward to watching Rhea Ripley wrestle.
I do and I don't, only because we talked about earlier, her overselling. She needs to stop that shit. She can't be taking these moves from people who are half her height and weight and like roll around like a jobber. Stop that. You got to be more dominant. But yeah, come on, Bayley. You got to do something. Get out there. Get your chin up. No, nobody likes a "woe is me" promo. All right, we only got a little bit of time left on this week's episode, but time to get to the heart of the matter. One of the reasons why we made this show. Bret Hart was invited by WWE to SummerSlam, but upon his arrival to the show, they told him They did not have a seat for him. What the fuck?
So much to unpack here, right? Like I want to know the logistics of it. Like, was he supposed to sit ringside and they overbooked on accident? Which, by the way, happens, right? Like I remember one time Chuck Liddell didn't have a seat in one of the VIP seats at a UFC event because somebody fucked up and they went grabbed another seat and fixed it, right? But this to me is like, okay, well, why didn't they try and fix it? You had it's a 4 hour show, right? 2 day, 4 hour show. Fucking fix it. And they didn't. Yet they have a seat for Nick Hogan, who I get it. His dad died. But this is Bret Hart, okay? And Nick Hogan almost killed a guy, and he's a multiple drunk DUI guy. And you got a seat for him, and you don't have a seat for Bret the Hitman Hart. Grab a seat from the back, scoot Nick Hogan over, and put Bret there. Come on.
Yeah, that was absolutely ridiculous. I'm 100% on Bret's side here. People keep saying the IWC has this negative hard-on for Bret Hart because they keep saying like, oh, he's a big mark and oh, he's so bitter and blah blah blah. Well, think about it. This guy busted his ass for the WWE. Like took the reins when there was no one else to take them. Took the ball and ran with it and made you believe in champions that weren't the size of Hulk Hogan or the Ultimate Warrior or Randy Savage. You believed in him, and that was Bret Hart's doing. And in the ring, there is not one performer yesteryear or today that makes it look better. Bret Hart is fantastic in the ring. Every time I watch a Bret Hart match, I am always floored and I always enjoy it. And right here, his quote, I don't think they fully appreciate me. 100% on board with that. And I honestly believe it's due to Triple H running the show. Because if you guys don't remember, or if you haven't checked, check out the Shawn Michaels documentary, The Heartbreak and Triumph on Peacock. The original instigator of the Montreal Screwjob was none other than Triple H himself. His fucking quote, if this guy doesn't want to do business, we'll do business for him. And I still think after all these years, Triple H has a huge chip on his shoulder about Bret Hart. He's probably thinking, I'm better than Bret. I should be on the mountain. Why do people appreciate this guy? Why the fuck would you pay money to fly him out here? And then say, oh, by the way, thanks that you're here.
You're not gonna give him a seat.
Yeah, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, not even squeezing him in. Oh, we'll figure something out. Just say, sorry, we don't have it. You can go home now. What the fuck? If that isn't the ultimate slap in the face, and I am 100% on Bret here, they don't fully appreciate me. Absolutely not. Why would you even invite him then? Like, okay, I get it. Like,
yeah, like fix it. Fix the problem when it's identified. That's what you do. Problems happen. People understand. Fix it. And when they say they don't fully appreciate me, I don't know if you've noticed this, but on interviews, all of this generation of talent grew up watching Bret as kids, kind of like we did, and they all see what we see now. All of us don't fully appreciate him until now, when they realized how real he made wrestling look. He did all the little things and he made them perfect. He took a front turnbuckle when nobody else did. He punched better. He kicked better. He did things that made like he had Diesel push him off the ropes through a table. He's the first guy to go through a table on mainstream wrestling television. And he's an innovator. He like you said, you made a brilliant point, and I want to piggyback off it about how he made it so champions could be legit without being 6'7", 300 pounds. He's the reason why we have CM Punk and Shawn Michaels and AJ Styles and Sami Zayn and Cody Rhodes. And this guy, he should be in the back producing talent. Like, and that's why people are pissed, because Bret Hart's career got cut short, and he's not getting the millions. Like they had a tribute for Goldberg. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to say this right now. Fuck Goldberg. Goldberg is the most overrated piece of trash that's ever earned money in this business. And the fact that Bret Hart hasn't made millions since the 90s is BS. Rant over.
Well, everyone always talks about the Mount Rushmore of wrestling. Who should be on it, who's yours, and yada yada. I know everybody has their different lists, and I think a lot of people lose sight of the fact of what it really means. Like, what does the Mount Rushmore really, like, the actual Mount Rushmore are the individuals who helped change and shape America to the country it is today. They're the founding fathers and leaders that we wholly respect. And I think that's the same thing in the wrestling business. And I think it's extremely disingenuous if Hulk Hogan is not on your Mount Rushmore of wrestling. Even if you hate him or you don't care about this guy, you can't deny what he did for the wrestling business. But right next to Hulk Hogan has to be Bret Hart, because of his work ethic, because of what he did in the ring, because of how he made you believe. Even when Vince came out and said this shit is fake, you watch Bret Hart and say, are you sure? Because that looks real. Because that's the grittiness that he puts into those matches.
You have to think of the impact, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the impact that Hogan made on the business, the impact Bret made on the business, the impact Stone Cold made on the business, the impact The Rock made on the business. Everything comes into play, and they all had their own individual contributions to this and had a gigantic one. And Bret had a gigantic one that we're just now seeing. You don't think that CM Punk is modeling his entire style out of Bret the Hitman Hart in the ring? He is.
Mm-hmm. And
so's Cody.
To jump on this, people got so pissed when Bret Hart said this, but he's made a quote that professional wrestlers, modern professional wrestlers, are actors pretending to be wrestlers. And I got 3 things to say about that. Truer words have never been fucking spoken. He is absolutely right. I am completely nauseated watching wrestling today of guys not selling moves, just staring at guys waiting for spots. One of the most hated spots I see right now are when guys roll to the corner, put their arms back, waiting to be clotheslined over the top rope, but waiting 10 seconds for it. They're not like hunched over. They're not selling or do anything to make it real. They're dancing. That's all they're doing. They're dancing. They're going through moves. They're rolling around with each other. They don't make it look real and gritty. And I 100% agree with Bret Hart on this notion. Like, what are they doing? Like, yeah, we get it. It's not a sport. We know this is a scripted event, and so are movies. But if movies look this bad, it's like watching the difference between fucking Sharknado or like a Michael Bay production, Transformers, where it's just really gritty and explosive and super intense and real, versus something that's just CGI and bullshit, and you can just tell it's fake, but you're supposed to believe it anyways. And I don't get why people were upset over this, because it's the God's honest truth what he's saying right now. If you really slow down and watch the product today, and I think wrestling going to HD is a big problem that caused this, because it helped kind of highlight some of the fakeness of what's going on in the ring, because you up the frames per second, you make the picture a lot clearer. But even so, if you look at Bret's matches today and you put him in that high filter lens, you can't deny that the shit he does looks good and looks real. Like, you go, oh shit, like he really trying to kick the shit out of you when he wrestles. And God bless him, he's never injured anybody. He's never had an injury that was his fault. So he proved that you could do this and put in the work. But I'll go one further than Bret Hart. He says they're actually pretending to be wrestlers. I'll say they're fucking lazy, and they've gotten used to not working this hard. I was talking to you about, I was like, God, I see the guys in the ring right now, and when they finish their matches, they were at work 20-30 minutes and they don't even sweat. Like, they're not dripping with sweat. Like back in the day, Bret would be drenched, and Hogan is like, his whole back of his head is just matted, and they're all exhausted. Like, what the hell's going on? Oh, because they're not working.
Well, remember what Bret said about like how John Cena would do a headlock and it looked like he had a tire in between his hands because he wasn't tightening it. And his point was, you can tighten a headlock and have your person you're wrestling be uncomfortable without damaging him. It's gonna hurt a little bit, but it's not gonna be damaging. And that's what he was like. That's why he was so good, because even his headlocks looked like he was trying to squeeze the life out of you. But he was brilliant at all the little things, and he made you believe that. Like, that's why his match with Stone Cold is the first match to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, because it was a fight, because remember, it was a submission match, so there was no false finishes. And Brett was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do without all these false finishes. And it turns out having finishes makes the match more real and makes it look more like a fight, which it was. Every wrestler that ever wants to be a wrestler needs to watch that match and say, if you cannot compete in a manner similar to that, you have no business wrestling. And that's why they're actors pretending to be wrestlers.
That is one of my favorite matches of all time. Definitely top 3 matches. And just the promo building up to it, because I didn't know this. I watched the Broken Skull sessions where Bret Hart was on it. And they said when they came to us with this idea for this match, Austin was freaking out. He goes, Bret, I don't have a submission. What am I going to do? And Bret's like, I don't know either. How are we going to do that? Think about what they didn't go in there with this master plan thinking, oh, we're going to make this great. They were like, holy shit. What do they expect us to do with it? And that's how you can tell you're working with 2 masterclass performers, where they were take chicken shit and turn it into chicken salad. And one of my favorite promos leading up to that event was Austin said, look, he knew he didn't have a submission, but he said he was going to kick the shit out of Bret Hart so bad that he was going to say, I quit. Like, okay, that is awesome. That is something that I wanted to see that match for a shit ass pay-per-view. That was the one match I was dying to see because of that line he said. I said, oh my god, because Austin didn't have a submission. You're like, okay, what's easy? You can really kick the shit out of him? Bret Hart gonna be like, no, stop, please, no. Like, that was the idea behind it. And when they worked that match, you believed it. They worked so well together. That was one of the most underrated feuds of all time. I don't know why people don't rewatch their work. I know it was in one of the darker times of WWE when they almost went bankrupt but it was one of the best feuds ever, and it's unfortunate it never had a culmination match between those guys, because it would have been, it should have been the main event of WrestleMania 14. That should have been that, and it's unfortunate that we didn't get that. And one other thing, I don't have it pulled up here, but Bret, people were getting so pissed because going along with this, he had a quote where it said, wrestlers should be copying me. And people are like, how dare Bret Hart say something like that? Oh, you should copy. Look at the egotistical maniac. He's like, hey, you misread the quote. He said, look at my style. I did stuff that made it look real, and it was intense and gritty and tough, and they should be doing stuff. They should be copying how I do my moves in the ring. And I think if they did, the product would be so much more better than it is today. We wouldn't, like, the reason, like I said, we call this show Wrestling Is Now Shitty, because when I look at the product, I go, yeah, it's nothing like the way Bret Hart worked. Bret Hart worked his ass off to make you believe, and then they pulled the curtain back and said, nah, it's fake again.
That's style, right? Like, he's like, hey, listen, like, we need to make this look like it's like MMA, right? It's supposed to be MMA. Wrestling is supposed to be 2 guys out there fighting to try and beat each other up. And the closer you can make it look like that, the better.
Absolutely. And you know what? IWC, you got a hard on for this guy, and you don't think Bret, you just think he's a bitter asshole that just hates the world or whatever. Maybe take a breath, look back, take a good hard look at all the contributions and everything Bret Hart did for this business. And if you really, really feel this way, go fuck yourself. Well, that's about all the time we have for our show today. Closing thoughts, Midnight? Anything you're looking forward to coming up? Anything big on the horizon, wrestling-wise, that we should be looking out for?
Well, I think the Clash in Paris should be interesting. It should be an interesting card. I think it's probably the last big show of the summer. So tune into that. And I hope to do a pretty good episode about what happens there, because I think the 4-way match for the world title should be pretty good.
Oh, yeah, we know who's taking the L on that one. I know I got maybe some heat for what I said about LA Knight last week, but he's the only one in that match that could take the L, and no one would give a shit. Oh, I'm sorry, LA Knight fans, but I still don't get him. I tried watching him in his little repertoire with CM Punk, and it just felt like somebody trying to be CM Punk instead of somebody trying to be himself. Like, I don't get his style. You said like he did pretty good promos. That was a shit ass promo he did. All I cared about was it felt like Knight was acting and CM Punk was real, which is when you got two guys in there with vastly different promo styles, one comes out on top. It was like watching The Rock versus Billy Gunn again, and someone's getting buried. I promise you, it's not the kid from Chicago.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil what's going to happen at Ashton, but I don't see change. I think Triple H is wants guys to hold their titles for at least a few months, and my guess is Seth holds on to it until WrestleMania.
I agree. I don't see anyone dethroning him. Best I could see right now, if they're trying to enhance it, it depends on how over he gets. But I could see another evolution era, like I think we were talking about it, where Braun takes the Batista role and Seth is in the Triple H role, or Braun eventually breaks out and becomes the breakout babyface to challenge Seth Rollins for the belt, which I honestly firmly believe he should, because if Punk wins the Rumble and challenges for the World Heavyweight Championship, I think that's a downgrade move for Punk. I think Punk should go after the Universal title. Even if he's feuding with Seth, I think it would be a great swerve move after winning the Rumble. Said, Seth, we've got a long history together, and I want nothing more than to take that belt from you. But that's not the goal today, because I want to be recognized on the world stage, and there's only one guy in this company who does that. I'm challenging Cody Rhodes. Boom. That's marquee main event right there. Put those two guys on that poster for Vegas, and you've got money. I'll give ESPN $30 for that weekend. Okay. Well, that's all we have for our show this week, folks. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you guys have any questions for us, you want us to read them during the show or before the show starts, please send us a message to winspodcastlive@gmail.com. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will catch you guys next week.